In this video, you will learn how to use fog and effects in PeachWorlds editor. All of the effects, including fog, can be found on the right properties panel in the global settings of the scene. Let's just start talking about the fog. Well, fog is sort of self-explanatory. It actually adds a fog in your scene, but there are a bit more options to it, so let's have a look. I will now enable my fog. The options you have here is to use fog and use the color of the background that you set up here. So if I'll change my background color, my fog color will follow. So that's a very handy if you are creating specific scenes where you need to keep the same style of the fog in the background. Alternatively, you can turn it off, and then fog will become an individual color, which you can also change right here and create an interesting effect. So up to you how you use it, but those are options available and you can switch between them. Let's go back to use the fog as our background with our background color, and then you have options to choose how far and how near the fog parameters are. So if I want to start increasing this to, let's say, 120, my fog will be pushed back. So basically, if you can control how far the fog starts. And then if I have a near option, if I change this option to 50, then this will reduce a blend of a fog. Think about it as a gradient, so you can actually control that here. So let's just move it back to 50, and our fog becomes like a plain wall. And that's why, because there's no gradient, there's no depth in it. So if I now change this again to 10, we will start to see a gradual fog. That's how you can control it. That's it. That's how fog works. And let's move on to a few other effects that we have. I will bring it back to probably 80 and leave the fog in my scene. To turn on the effects panel, you just need to click here, toggle, and then you will see a variety of different effects. Some of them you might be familiar with already. I'm not going to go into too much detail into each, but I will just explain you what individual effects do. So bloom effect, if you click that, it will actually increase the emissive object look, and you can control all of the parameters right here. So now if I'll increase the intensity, you will see that anything that is brighter is actually starts to become more bloomy, or let's say radiating light. That's where you can control all of the settings of the bloom effect. Let me just turn it off for a second. Then you have vignette. I mean, that is really basic. It's very simple. You can control the vignette properties right here and just choose, to your liking how you want to sort of set it up. So let's just go back and close it. Then we have a very interesting effect. It's called depth of field. We can actually bring a depth of field effect into our scene. So if I will start changing the focus distance, you can see that some of the objects becoming blurred, and this actually imitates the depth of field effect of a camera. So if I will move this little sphere a little bit closer to the screen, let's go up and go back to my global settings by clicking either anywhere in the scene where possible, or on the toolbar on the top, and then coming back to my depth of field effects and changing the focusing distance. As you can see, the sphere is still in focus, but the background is already blurred. That's pretty much how you can control this effect for certain scenes. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to look at the pixelation. So you can actually control pixelation and create this kind of interesting effect depending on what you are creating. Next is hue saturation. I'm not going to really dive deep into this. It's just literally control your strength of your saturation, and then you can adjust the color hue as well for your scene. So if I'll start changing this, you will see it, how it's affecting my scene right here. Similar to Photoshop, if you are using that, so it won't be difficult for you to understand how it works. Next one is brightness contrast. Again, self-explanatory, really simple to use. You can control it right here. Just control your brightness and contrast of your scene. So let's just go back. And also, if I will just come back to, let's say, hue and saturation, what you can also do is choose between the blending modes, and there are plenty in here. Again, not going to go through all of them, but just to give you an idea that you can actually create an interesting effect. By changing these things, you will see that now your scene is changing as well, depending on which sort of overlay you are choosing. Okay, so let's just turn it off. Then we have noise. And noise, if you'd like to have some nice effects with the noise, you can control it right here, change its strength. As well, you have the blending modes, same as for the rest of the effects. You can play with those and see how they affect your scene to create some cool effect. Okay, so that is all about the fog and the rest of the effects in PeachWorlds editor.